Well, here we go again, girls. We're back for part 2 of The Kingdom of Wrenly, the Pegasus quest. That's a Pegasus, a horse with wings on it. And we have our friends Prince Lucas and Clara. Remember what's happened so far. There's been a lot of strange things going on. There's a hunter who's looking for a horse with wings. There's elderberries that have been eaten from the trolls' land, and now we're going to try to find out whether they can find the Pegasus. Chapter 5, a very good idea. A very good idea. That's a play on words, berry instead of very, because of the enderberries. Okay, we have to save the Pegasus from that hunter, declared Lucas. But how? Clara asked. A knowing smile swept across Lucas's face. With enderberries, he said. Clara looked at the prince like he was crazy. Where are we going to get enderberries? She questioned. The trolls are already guarding what little they have left. Lucas shrugged. Maybe Cook knows where we can get some. Well, it's worth a try, said Clara doubtfully. They galloped to the stables and returned the horses to their stalls. Then they hurried up the stone stairs and burst through the back door and into the kitchen. Cook jumped from his kettle in terror. His spoon clattered to the floor. Please don't do that ever again, he said, fanning himself. There he is. He's fanning. They surprised him. They burst into the kitchen, fanning himself with his hand. You scared me out of my wits. We're sorry, said Prince, picking up Cook's spoon. Everybody is always sorry, complained the cook, cleaning his spoon on his apron. Now, what is it I can do for you? We wondered if you have any enderberries, said Lucas. Cook shook his head in surprise. Enderberries, he said dramatically. I do not prepare enderberries in my kitchen. He seemed a little bit offended. But do we have any? Lucas persisted. Cook let out a long sigh. Yes, we have loads of enderberries, he said. The trolls give us those darn things every year as a gift. I don't have the heart to refuse them. Go ahead, help yourself. They're in the royal cupboard next to the raisins. See, enderberries are kind of bitter and tart, but trolls like them, so they give them as gifts, but the cook never cooks them, so they just have a whole bunch of them that they have stored up. Lucas and Clara threw their arms around Cook. Then they thumped down the stairs to the royal cupboard and grabbed a basket of enderberries. They stowed it away in the playroom behind the toy chest for safekeeping. After the berries were hidden, Lucas saw Clara to the door. Here we go. Clara's going out the door. See, there we are. Okay, let's meet at the path to Mermaid's Cove at dusk, Lucas said. Don't forget the berries, said Clara as she trotted down the lane toward home to help her father close up the shop. Remember, her father's the baker, and Clara helps, so she helps close up the shop at the end of the day. Now we're on to Chapter 6, and I need to take off my jacket here. You can't see, but I'm wearing a little light jacket as I'm sitting at my desk because it's a little bit cold. But when I read, for some reason I get hot when I read. This is because I spend so much energy on my reading, and it's very exciting, so sometimes I get hot. So I just took my jacket off. Okay. Chapter 6, Dragon Talk. And look what, see, it looks like a basket. Can you see that? See, they're hiding behind the rock. There's Clara, and there's Prince Lucas, and who's that? That's right, it's Ruskin the dragon. And it looks like they put the enderberries in a basket out on the ground. It looks like it's on the ground maybe, and they're waiting to see what happens. I think they're going to try to see if the Pegasus will come to eat the enderberries, and then they can talk to the Pegasus and try to keep the hunter from capturing the Pegasus. Okay, dragon talk. The children and Ruskin walked down the moonlit path to Mermaid's Cove. They crunched over the sand and looked for the perfect spot to watch for the Pegasus. Lucas set the basket of enderberries out in the open. Then they hid in the shadow of a large rock and waited. Soon Ruskin began to whine. Shh, shushed Lucas. The dragon swished his tail back and forth. I think he hears something, Clara whispered. Lucas cupped his hand to his ear. The faint sound of a ship's sail flapped in the wind. The sound of a ship's sail. I don't know if you girls have ever heard that. If you have a sail on a ship and the wind is blowing, sometimes it flaps and it makes a little noise when the fabric flips back and forth. The sound gradually grew louder, but it wasn't a ship's sail at all. It was the steady beat of Pegasus wings. Pegasus wings. Pegasus is coming to get the underberries. The snow-white stallion dropped to the sand and dipped his nose into the basket of elderberries. Ruskin let out a welcoming squawk. A welcoming squawk. The Pegasus looked up and shook his mane calmly, as if to say hello in return. "He is so beautiful," Clara said softly as she gazed at the velvety down feathers on the wings of the Pegasus. The Pegasus twitched his ears. Let's see the picture. There's the Pegasus. And the Pegasus is getting to know Ruskin. The Pegasus twitched his ears at the sound of Clara's voice. He began to back away. Ruskin let out 3 short, reassuring grunts and carefully walked over. The Pegasus relaxed and returned to the basket of elderberries. "Excellent work, Ruskin," praised Lucas. See, the dragon is saying, "We're friends here. We're friends here. You don't have to be afraid." Ruskin squawked proudly. "Can you ask the Pegasus not to be afraid of us?" Clara whispered. Ruskin nodded. Then he began to chirp, squawk, and grunt. The Pegasus nickered and lowered his head. The great beast seemed to understand that the children could be trusted. When the Pegasus finished the elderberries, Lucas stepped forward. There we go. There's Lucas meeting the Pegasus. "Why have you come to Wrenly?" he asked gently. Lucas noticed that the creature had smudges of dirt and scratches on his body. The animal shook his head. Ruskin then translated what the prince had said. The Pegasus whinnied and lifted his head toward the great cloud in the sky, the same cloud that had been hovering. There it is. There's a cloud. See that? So Pegasus, when they asked Pegasus, "Why have you come?" Pegasus indicates, nods up toward the cloud. It is the same cloud that has been hovering over Wrenly since the blue moon had begun. Ruskin whimpered understandingly. "What did he say?" asked Lucas. Ruskin loved to act things out for the children. First, he pointed his muzzle toward the sky. "The blue moon?" Clara guessed. Ruskin shook his head no. "The great cloud?" offered Lucas. Ruskin nodded. It's a great cloud. Then the dragon lifted his wing and let it flop to his side. He followed his action with a whimper. "Your wing hurts?" Clara asked. Ruskin shook his head and pointed at the Pegasus. "Oh, I get it," Lucas said. "The Pegasus has a hurt wing, and he can't fly back to his castle in the sky," said Clara, putting it all together. Ruskin squawked in agreement. So Pegasus hurt his wing, and he can't get back up to the cloud, which is where he's supposed to live. So that's his problem. That's why he's running around on the ground. Lucas walked up to the great winged stallion and stroked his face gently. "Don't worry," he said softly. "We promise to take good care of you." Chapter 7. Okay, see the picture? There we are. Chapter 7. There's Ruskin flying around, and there's a Pegasus, and Clara and Lucas, and they're looking at the castle. Chapter 7. The Stall. The stall. That's where a horse lives sometimes, in a stall. The children led the Pegasus back to the royal stables. That's where horses live. There are stalls in the royal stables. "I'll talk with Andre and Grom the first thing in the morning," said Lucas. Andre and Grom were the 2 finest wizards in Wrenly. "But don't tell them we have a Pegasus," warned Clara. "Then the whole kingdom will find out." "Don't worry, I won't," said Lucas. Reassuringly, he said it reassuringly, I'll be clever. They will never suspect a thing, ha. Clara looked relieved. When they got near the stalls, Lucas went ahead to make sure no one was around. All clear, he whispered upon his return. Then they walked the Pegasus into an empty stall and covered him with a large wool blanket. Without your wings showing, you'll look like a regular horse, Lucas declared, and hopefully the hunter won't recognize you either. They're going to put the blanket over his wings and let him hang out with the regular horses. Pegasus blew air through his nostrils. He seemed to like the safety of the enclosed stall. Well, I better be going before my parents get worried, Clara said. I'll come back first thing in the morning. Ruskin squawked. Shh, scolded Lucas. Clara kneeled down and hugged Ruskin. I'll see you in the morning too, she whispered. See Ruskin, he likes to be hugged. The dragon crooned happily and curled up on the straw beside the Pegasus. Looks like Ruskin wants to stay the night, said Clara. Good thinking, Ruskin, Lucas said, patting the dragon on his head. You can keep the Pegasus company. And stay on the lookout, added Clara. Ruskin thumped his tail. Then the children headed for home. Ooh, you know what that is? That's the hunter. That's the hunter. He's talking to two knights. Let's see what's going on here. The next morning, Clara elbowed Lucas on the way to the stables. Look, she hissed. On the road up ahead, Lucas stopped in his tracks. It was the hunter, talking to the royal guards. The children ducked into the bushes. Then they crept along the inside of the hedge all the way up to the stables. Whew, Lucas said when he saw that Pegasus was still there. That was close, said Clara as she unhooked a bucket from the wall. We'll have to work fast. Then Clara crept outside to the trough to fill her bucket with water. Lucas got to work too. He examined the hurt Pegasus's wing. The stallion winced. Sorry, whispered Lucas. Clara's bucket of water sloshed as she carried it into the stall. I'll wash him and keep watch, she said. You go talk to the wizards and see what you can find out. There, he's checking out the wing right there of the Pegasus. Lucas gently lowered the hurt wing and turned to leave. Hurry, she whispered as she dipped a sponge in the water. We don't have much time. See, there's Clara. She's scrubbing the horse because they said earlier that the horse had some dirt on him. So, because I guess when the Pegasus hurt his wing, he must have fallen down in the dirt. So she's washing him. Chapter 8, Night Flight. Okay, here we see Lucas, and you know who Lucas is talking to? He's talking to the two wizards that we heard about. The wizards, there he is. Clara wiped her brow. The stall had become hot in the late morning sun. Finally, the door creaked open. Lucas had returned. What did you find out? Clara asked. Lucas patted the Pegasus. Not much, he said. The wizard said time is the only thing that would heal a strained Pegasus wing. So he was asking the wizards, how do you heal a Pegasus wing? They looked it up and they said, only time will heal. Clara groaned. That's the one thing we don't have. That hunter is getting closer. Lucas looked at the poor Pegasus thoughtfully. Well, we'll just have to help the Pegasus learn to fly with an injured wing. They waited until after dark, and then they snuck the Pegasus out to an open field. The children massaged the Pegasus's wing under the light of the blue moon. Then, on the count of 3, the Pegasus ran as fast as he could and took off in flight. The great stallion rose gracefully into the starry night. Then he whinnied in pain and glided back down to the earth. Oh, it hurt too much. He couldn't stay up. They tried again, but it was no use. The Pegasus needed to heal before he could fly all the way home. Ruskin nuzzled the Pegasus and stayed close to his side. Here's Ruskin and the Pegasus. right there. That's so cute. The children plopped down in the tall grass and listened to the crickets. Now what? Said Lucas. The children, they're thinking up there at the top there. They're sitting down in the grass. They're trying to think about what to do. Now what? Said Lucas. But before Clara could respond, they heard something rustle in the woods nearby. Ruskin's ears perked up. The children stared into the darkness. A shadow emerged from the forest. It was the hunter. Lucas and Clara scrambled to their feet and blocked the Pegasus from the woman who gripped her lasso. Okay, I've forgotten that the hunter is a woman. Stay back, Lucas ordered in a commanding voice. There's the hunter right there. And there's Lucas. There's Clara. There's the stallion. And there's Ruskin. He's trying to defend the Pegasus. But the stranger continued to walk toward them. Into the moonlight, suddenly the children could see her face. To their surprise, the stranger's eyes seemed to glow with kindness. She looked lovingly at the Pegasus, as if it were a long-lost friend. The Pegasus nickered and walked past Lucas and Clara right up to the stranger. I thought I'd never see you again, the woman said gently, stroking his muzzle. So the hunter isn't hunting Pegasus to hurt Pegasus. The hunter is Pegasus's friend. That's nice. The Pegasus whinnied softly. We don't have much time, said the stranger. Lucas and Clara threw a curious glance at each other. We must get you home by tomorrow, the stranger said, or else you will be trapped here, far from your family, forever. Oh my gosh, got to get back up into the cloud by tomorrow, or Pegasus is going to be trapped there forever. Chapter 9. See that? Chapter 9. Chapter 9. And it says Grace. That's the name of the chapter. Do you know somebody named Grace? I know somebody named Grace. It's a coincidence. The hunter's name is Grace. Who are you? Asked Lucas, not knowing where else to begin. The woman turned toward the children. Oh, forgive me, she said. My name is Grace. Clara took a step toward Grace. And what do you want with the Pegasus? She asked. Grace looked at the great cloud in the sky and then back to Clara. Wow, look at this picture. See, there's Grace, the hunter, and there you see the Pegasus. You see Ruskin on top of the Pegasus's head there. He's kind of hard to see. He looks really small. And there's a horse, and there are birds, and I see foxes. Oh, maybe that's Ruskin there. That's a mouse up. That's a mouse up on the Pegasus's head. That's why the mouse looks so small. And a rabbit and a cat. We got all kinds of animals there. I want to help him get back to his homeland. When the blue moon is over, his castle in the sky will move on. Lucas felt his shoulders relax. Phew, he said, we thought you were a hunter. I am, she said, but I hunt animals to help them, not to harm them. Ruskin squawked in approval. And I owe a great deal of thanks to you both, Grace went on. How did you win the trust of the Pegasus? Ruskin squawked again, only a little louder this time. Yeah, Ruskin is the one. He's the one who helped win the trust of the Pegasus. Oh, Grace said to the dragon, did you have something to do with that? Lucas patted Ruskin on the back. The Pegasus seems to understand him, he said. What a good dragon, Grace said. And then there we are. There's a dragon, Ruskin, and there's Grace. What a good little dragon. Then she turned her attention to the Pegasus. She examined the stallion's wing in the moonlight. I knew something was wrong, she said, massaging the wing. A Pegasus often eats elderberries when it's in need of healing. Did you know that? Oh, a Pegasus often eats elderberries when it's in need of healing. Did you know that? Okay, so a Pegasus, he doesn't eat elderberries all the time, just when he's in need of healing. The children, it's like medicine for a Pegasus. The children shook their heads. Then, Grace continued, When the trolls began to patrol the elderberry bushes, the Pegasus fled. Lucas came closer. "But how do you know all of this?" he asked. Grace continued to massage the Pegasus. "I met the Pegasus once in a different kingdom," she said. "I became enchanted by this beautiful beast. After that, I studied everything there was to know about Pegasi." That's a plural. That means more than one Pegasus. I studied everything there was to know about Pegasi. When I saw the shooting star the other night, I knew a Pegasus had returned, but I never dreamed it would be my same old friend. "That is amazing," said Clara. Grace smiled. "And now, the Pegasus is in urgent need of more elderberries," she said. "Do you know where we can get some?" Lucas nodded. "We have elderberries at the castle," he told her. Grace sighed in relief. "That is good news," she said, smiling. "The Pegasus needs rest first. Is there a safe place for him? He is a rare animal in this world, and there are many people who would cherish owning a Pegasus." "You can stay in the garden shed," suggested Lucas. "It's safe and quiet. Plus, Ruskin can stay with you. Clara and I will bring you the elderberries before dawn." "That is a good plan," said Grace. Chapter 10. Okay, there's Lucas, and he's getting the elderberries. And the name of this chapter, this is kind of a hard word. It's the salve, S-A-L-V-E. The L is kind of silent. It means a salve is kind of a medicine. S-A-L-V-E, the salve. Early the next morning, Lucas crept down the stairs to the larder. A larder is where you keep food, while the rest of the castle slept. He helped himself to the last 2 baskets of elderberries. Then the prince slipped quietly out the door. Clara met him at the bottom of the steps. They each carried a basket. The blue moon shone in the sky as they walked across the empty field. Clara spied a swirl of smoke streaming above the trees at the edge of the woods. Grace had built a fire and had set a kettle over the flame. The children placed the baskets of elderberries in front of Grace. She looked at them gratefully. "Good morning," she said as she stirred the mixture. "Good morning, Grace," Clara said. "What are you cooking?" "It's called a salve," said Grace. "This will be a special potion to heal the Pegasus." Special potion. Grace motioned to the elderberries. "Those are the most important part," she said, removing her spoon. It's a salve. That's something it's kind of like mush that you make, and then you spread it on something and it soothes and heals. Grace added both baskets of elderberries to the kettle. The mixture bubbled, so they're cooking the elderberries. Bubble, bubble, bubble. And the berries begin to melt and pop in the hot liquid. Grace kneeled and stirred in all the berries. Then she let the mixture cook for an hour. "The salve has to cool before we apply it," Grace said, removing the kettle from the fire. Have you girls ever had that, where you had some kind of a hurt or a wound or a scratch or a cut, and your mama or your daddy rubbed something on it? That's a salve, when they rub something on it to make it better. Ruskin and the Pegasus, who had just woken up, joined the group. They yawned and watched Grace tend to the other kettle. "What are you making in that one?" asked Lucas. So there are 2 kettles going. One is a salve, and they said, "What are you making in that other kettle?" asked Lucas. "Breakfast," Grace said cheerfully. Breakfast sounded very good after a late night and a very early morning. The children got bowls and wooden spoons from the cabin. Grace heaped the bowls full of porridge. That's like oatmeal. And they ate. The sun climbed higher in the sky. See the picture? The sun's coming up. Everybody's eating. They're getting ready to put the salve on Pegasus, who has come out into the grass. "It's almost time," she said, keeping her eye on the sun. "When the sun peeks over the mountains, the castle will be revealed. That will be the Pegasus's only chance to get home. Lucas and Clara looked at the great cloud that still hung over Wrenly. The sun had nearly reached the top of the mountain. Grace dipped her finger in the salve. It's still warm, but it's cool enough to be applied, she said. Lucas and Clara dipped their hands into the salve and rubbed the mixture onto the Pegasus's injured wing. They rubbed extra salve on the area where the wing was attached to his body. Grace, who had been keeping her eye on the sun, suddenly called out, "It's time!" Lucas and Clara backed away from the beast carefully. Then, there they are, they're rubbing the salve onto the Pegasus. You see the Pegasus, he really appreciates that, how they're taking good care of him. That feels very soothing. The Pegasus moved his great wings up and down. At the same time, something extraordinary happened. The great cloud over Wrenly moved away and revealed a grand, glistening castle in the sky. There he is. He's beating his wings. He's snorting a little bit. See the cloud coming out of his nose? He's snorting a little bit. Then the cloud moves away, and there's the castle in the sky that was hidden by the cloud. Lucas whistled when he saw it. He had never seen anything so beautiful. "It's now or never," Grace cried. The Pegasus held his head high and whinnied. Whee! That's a whinny. Whee! That's a kind of a sound a horse or a Pegasus makes. Okay, and whinnied whee! To all of his friends. Then he galloped toward the mountain, flapped his great wings, and lifted himself high up into the air. Ruskin squawked as he watched his new friend fly away. The Pegasus neighed and then grew smaller and smaller in the distant sky. Finally, the winged creature landed safely on the craggy edge of the castle's land. Here we go. See the picture? Here goes the Pegasus. Up. Toward the castle. I got to lift the camera up a little bit. Up, toward the castle. Whee! How about that? And then it looks like the Pegasus is home. Rearing up on its hind legs one last time, the Pegasus seemed to wave goodbye to his friends below. The floating castle began to move on. The friends stood side by side and watched the castle and the blue moon slip over the horizon. They were quiet for a long time. Then Lucas whispered, "Our wishes all came true." I think we're close to the end, but say hi to Grandmommy. Grandmommy just came in.
Hello. Hi. Can you see me?
I think they can. We just finished a nice book about the Pegasus. Let's see if there are any more pages left. Bye-bye, Grandmommy.
Bye.
Okay. I think that's the end of the book, but let me see. Look at that. There's the Pegasuses. They're the other Pegasuses that are the friends. So he got back home to his family. The end. Wow. Okay. Well, that was an exciting end, and Grandmommy came in at just the right time. You know how many pages there were there? Look at that number. Who knows what number that is? It's 118, 118. 118 pages, this book. Actually, 119, because this right here is page 118, and then there's another page over here that's got the picture on it, so it's 119. Anyway, that was The Kingdom of Wrenly, The Pegasus Quest. I hope you enjoyed that, and I have a few more Kingdom of Wrenly books, and also one Princess in Black book that I haven't read, and I will read those to you at some other time. Bye-bye, girls.